Hello, my name is Arden Kirkland, and this is a screencast on the subject of using Omeka with students to build and exhibit digital collections, why and how. The screencast will be part 1 of 3, focusing on the why. For much of this screencast, I'll be navigating around a digital project that I've been working on over the last couple years, and this site has been created in Omeka over the last year. And what I want to show you is the range of what we're able to do with this Omeka site and why Omeka works so well for a really wide range of types of content. So we'll start with a simple view. This is an item in the database in Omeka. And as we've come to expect from many different digital collections online, this is a format that has a simple view and some straightforward data about this object. It even has expands into a large view when we want it. But Omeka can do a lot more than that. So you'll see here are many more images of that same object that we're looking at it inside out and all around. That's enabled by the built-in search capabilities of Omeka. So here in the advanced search window, there's several different fields that I can do a search upon. Here, this is the search that I did that resulted in the last view. There's also a simple keyword search in the upper right-hand corner that you can always use. Omeka supports a wide range of different types of media. So for example, here's an object VR of the same dress we were looking at before. So this file allows us to rotate the object, zoom in on it, see lots of detail. It would take hundreds of still photos to get the kind of detail that we're looking at here. But this file is supported by Omeka. Here's another object, another search resulting in multiple views of the object, but here now we can see how we start to build in some context for this object. So for example, in the same collection we can also see this photograph, which is from the Vassar Special Collections and Archives, showing some Vassar students wearing dresses very similar to the dress shown in our last view. It also supports PDF documents, a variety of types of documents, so we can also share a text document that allows our viewers or our students to place the objects in a particular context. It supports video.
Mystery here is whether or not this is a women's wear garment or a child's wear garment. The reason that we think that it might be child's wear is because the collar is very tiny. It's about 11.5 inches.
So you can see there are some students in action with one of the objects discussing their theories, their close reading of the object. And in fact, in that particular case, they followed up with that with some text, some comments, some research that they did to follow up their theories from when they were physically examining the object. In this case, this was a response to a blog post. That particular project was done before this Omeka site existed. So this video was originally posted on YouTube and then linked to from a blog for the project, and then the students were able to post their comments on the blog. However, now that we have this Omeka site, we can really put that all in one place. Omeka also supports mapping, geolocation plugin. So for example, here we're showing, using a Google map, some different locations of stores and dressmakers related to objects in the collection, so we can see them laid out on a map. So as we look at all of these different kinds of research materials that students can bring together in the act of collecting in an Omeka site, we see a real possibility for student engagement with all of these materials. But then we can also move into the exhibit builder aspect of Omeka, which really then allows students to pull all of this together to create an exhibit, make connections between these different materials, and synthesize what they've found into more meaningful analysis. So this exhibit format allows you to add some text, add some analytical thought about the different media that you're viewing, put them all together in a specific curated form. Still combine the main objects of the collection with supporting information such as photographs like this, or even such as related documents. But there's still even more than that, because the exhibit part of Omeka and the database part of Omeka are connected. So if I click on this object in the exhibit, it will take me to the database. It will show me the data that goes along with this object in the database. So this allows for someone who wants to follow up and get more information, somebody who's viewing the exhibit critically, to look at the information about the object itself and perhaps form an alternative interpretation of their own. So let's step back now and think about this a little more theoretically. All of this comes together in what I've come to call multiplicity. Lots of different multiples working together, including multimedia, as we've just seen, that allows for multiple views. Multiple access points. This is important to consider for students, how digital visits and physical visits can really support each other. That can take a passive form in just visiting a digital collection for information, but in terms of students' contributions to building a digital archive, this becomes a more active format, and also then allows students to have a more critical view of other digital collections that they view in the future. Multiple levels, especially this idea of context, and I think there's a great potential for students to add context into digital collections. Many digital collections that are currently online are lacking much context, and that's an area that student work can really help to fill in. Finally, multiple voices. Many different aspects of the story of an object coming together. So then we've seen how the exhibit format that's built into Omeka allows a space for students to bring the different research materials together into a more curated content, really a more analytical view of the research they've done. But how that exhibit connects back to the database also allows for a feature that's a really important part of the digital humanities. Coming from a phrase from John Unsworth, this can be summed up as the idea of externalizing interpretation. The idea that the interpretive content in the exhibit can be kind of separated out from, to some extent, from the data that goes along with the object itself, and that allows the possibility of alternative, critical interpretations. So now we can take a step back and see how all of these multiples are really aspects of multimodal learning, and that student engagement will be much greater when they use more than one of these modes to connect with the material at hand, and that Omeka becomes a really great tool to allow students to do that. So now that we're at the end of part one, just take a couple minutes and write down some ideas for digital collections that you could build with your classes using Omeka. And then we'll continue on with part two.